First off, I was in choir in the 8th grade, and I was not too bad.
Well, wait, Matt. I was also in choir for a long time, and
Trying to say you got better pipes than me? Welcome to Stay Hot, everybody. I'm Matthew Sponhour, as always, joined by Bladen Kirk and Theo Ash. Bladen Kirk and Theo Ash, how are you doing today?
Doing great, man. Glad you got your microphone working.
Yesterday I got the second dose of the vaccine. Ooh. And I didn't have a great night of sleep. I was very hot, and I'm working on not a lot. So you get a little bit of a sleepy Theo today, and tired. My arm hurts, Theo, but I'm going to tough it out.
Dude, yeah, when I got my second dose, it crushed me for like 12 hours and then I was fine. But
yeah, I feel a little bit better now than I was, but you get a sleepy Theo today. That's who you're going to get.
Reminder that we are on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. Make sure to subscribe, leave a review, a 5-star. We always appreciate that stuff.
We haven't done a review read in a while here. We should do that next episode. Those are really funny. The reviews that we get left. I will go
through and just read reviews and stuff sometimes.
Yeah, no, we should do that in the next episode.
Well, we've got a great show planned for you guys today. We're going to start with our takeaways from the NBA playoffs, or at least what has happened thus far. And then we're going to go over our listener mailbag again. We haven't done that in a little bit. It's always interesting, so we're very excited. Matt, the Clippers lost to the Mavericks. How are you feeling?
Well, great. It's always nice when we record an episode of the podcast and then it comes out the next day and you're already proven wrong before the podcast even comes out.
Exactly.
I really thought the Clippers had it figured out, but Luka is just that good. He's just that good. Yeah, as you can
see, I wore my Luka jersey today just to...
For those listening, he's wearing a Baker Mayfield jersey. Luka shot 37 times? Something ridiculous
he was ridiculous. I think he had 42 and 14. Just an absolute
which isn't a crazy amount considering how much he shot, but still for anyone to shoot that much, it's just kind of, and the other players on the team were obviously contributing. They won. Yeah. But, for him to kind of carry that load to the degree that he's doing is really impressive. And when I look at with the Lakers on the ropes, right? I mean, the West is wide open. It's wide open. And if can shoot if he's shooting 30 a game, I mean, if they can beat the Clippers, I think they can beat the Suns. I think they can beat maybe. It would be cool to see Luka have kind of a young LeBron, the kind of caliber of a postseason where he just kind of carries on all these shots. That's what I'm kind of rooting for now. I mean, obviously I'm rooting for the Suns, but I think Luka making a deep run would be super fun.
No, 100%. I made a video the other day and I was like, I don't know if Luka's the best player yet, but he's the most valuable player in terms of trade, as a trade asset.
Yeah, you asked that question on Twitter. Luka's the untouchable guy.
I don't have a problem with people saying he's the best player. He is just that. What else is he supposed to do at this point?
He's stellar.
It's like Patrick Mahomes almost, where you didn't want to come out and say he was the best quarterback in the league after his first season because it's just one season. But Luka's putting up 40 points, and they're pretty big underdogs in this series, and he has a decent team around him. But Luka is putting up a really, really impressive performance. So I can see why people would want to go there already.
Yeah, and who is the best in the world if not him? Is it still LeBron? I think that's a legitimate question considering he has not looked super scary in these playoffs so far.
As a LeBron fan, he's looked good. He's had some moments, but he's obviously not the 2018 finals LeBron. He's what is he, 36?
Something like that, 37,
yeah,
36.
He's old. Yeah. You expect to see some regression. And it's kind of the same thing with Brady. It's just a matter of when, right? We knew it was going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, and it's not I coming off the ankle injury, I mean, he's a tough guy to bet against because he's LeBron James. It's just, I think that the way he's played and his age and the injury, if they get bounced by the Suns, big if still, and he comes back next year, I think it's a question that is he the very best in the league? Or is it someone like Luka? Is it someone like Giannis? Is it someone like Curry or Embiid or Jokic maybe? I don't know. And if you want to say Luka, that is, in my opinion, that's completely valid. That might be who I would say, because I can't really think of any better alternatives, or I can't think of anyone in the league right now who can beat this Clippers team by himself. And that's kind of what Luka is doing. I don't think Jokic can do it. I don't think Dame could do it. I don't think Embiid could do it. I don't even think Giannis or LeBron could do it.
I was about to say, do you think Giannis could do it? Because I kind of feel like Giannis could do it.
I don't think he could.
As far as this season goes, I think Jokic is the best player.
He is. Yeah. He's the MVP. Look, Jokic is the MVP. But if you could pick one guy, would it be Jokic or Luka?
I think you can make a really strong argument for Jokic. He's just that good. He can do so much for you on offense, and Luka can too. So it's a fair debate. As far as the Lakers-Suns series goes, I don't know if this is LeBron showing that he might finally be slowing down a little bit, because I feel like we're going to get to this weird point where LeBron's still a top 10 player in the league, but also obviously not the best player. And we might be kind of transitioning into that. But I also think that there's a lot of context that people are ignoring when it comes to this series. We don't know really how much the ankle is bothering him. It could be a big deal and he's playing it down, or it could be not that big a deal and he's kind of playing it up. We just don't know. I like to assume that he's not just saying that he's not playing it up.
LeBron is kind of the type of guy who would do that, though. He is a little bit dramatic. I don't know. I know that there's that.
I totally see that for sure. But at the same time, to say that he's not 100% and just have his ankle be fine, I don't think he would just straight up lie about his ankle bothering him. There's also the fact that the Lakers had a really short offseason and then had a really compressed schedule. And I think it affected the Heat. The Heat were all over the place this year, and I think it's hurt the Lakers too. Plus, in Game 5, LeBron wasn't great, but the reason why they got blown out is because Dennis Schroeder went 0 for 8.
Didn't get any points. Yeah, I think two of his starters had 0
Schroeder's
points.
I knew you guys had talked before about how bad Schroeder was, and I was like, I was watching the first what was it? The Lakers in the Warriors, and I was like, oh, this who's this what's his number 17? I was like, who's the 17 guy? He's horrible. And then someone's like, yeah, that's Schroeder. I was like, oh.
I don't think Schroeder's horrible. I wouldn't say that.
He's playing horrible. He's not a horrible player.
We'll see what they do in Game 6. It's just been kind of a weird year for them.
And they don't have Anthony Davis.
I don't want to. Yeah, and they don't have Anthony Davis. Yeah, that too. I don't know why I didn't bring that up, but I just don't want to assume things too quickly.
Yeah,
with Bron, because there's also the fact that I don't think he gets enough foul calls, and I do think that most players in Bron's situation are going to get keyed in there, or at least most stars, and that's kind of what happened to him. So I'm not stunned he didn't play well if the other Lakers, role players couldn't make him pay.
Yeah, no, it is. This is not me, predicting LeBron's total downfall. I'm just saying that the way he's playing, I think that it does open up the question: is he number one? Is he number one? And that is where I think you could argue that he's not number one.
Well, yeah, because for the greater part of the last decade, he's been the best player in basketball, and now you're
for the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my take on Suns Lakers. The Lakers role, it's definitely not all on LeBron, but I do think that his ankle is kind of. I mean, he had that putback, he had that dunk that Caruso fed him off the backboard, and I mean, he had plenty of spring in his step there on that poster. So I don't know how his ankle is. I suspect that he is closer to 100% than 50% on the ankle. I doubt that with the way he's looked athletic. I mean, he's looked quick and he has had these big athletic plays. So I don't think that he looks drained of his strength or athleticism. I just think he can't carry this Lakers team right now against the Sun teams. But anyway, getting into the 76ers Wizards series, which we didn't talk about all that much. But
because it's just not that exciting of a series.
It's not that exciting of a series.
The Wizards are a nice team. They had a cool comeback. They just weren't competing with the 76ers. And I think any team that would have gotten that 8th spot would have been the same way.
Of course. But, now with Embiid's injury, that, to the 1 seed, that changes everything, right? I think the Hawks can definitely beat the Sixers without Embiid. If Embiid's out for some games, if he's clearly sapped for some games, it's Embiid.
This is a very tough situation to be in with lower body stuff. These guys, it's the playoffs. They're going to get them back as soon as they can. And luckily they're going up against a team who you don't really see as a contender. I think most NBA fans don't see the Hawks as a contender. I think I'd be a little bit more cautious if I was them, because if they're not careful, Embiid could get even more injured. And we know how his injury history is.
Right.
We know how teams are when it comes to these injuries. We saw it happen with KD and Clay. Like, teams want their star players in, especially in the playoffs, especially in the finals. So,
yes, they do. They do want good players in the finals.
Well, I get what you're chuckling.
I get what you're trying to say, or I get what you're saying. And I agree. But it's just, when it comes down to it, almost every year, the team that wins the finals is just whichever contender is actually the healthiest in the playoffs at the right time. And right now, the 76ers need to be very careful that they don't rush Embiid back and make that not true for themselves.
It's interesting when you think about the Jazz, right? Earlier in the series, they rested Donovan Mitchell for game 1, which they lost. They lost that game, and the players were taking shots at the front office. So they were kind of angry and confused as to why Donovan Mitchell didn't play. And a game got taken out of the series, and then they went 4-0 after that. And Mitchell wasn't at risk. They won pretty easily. So that's something that maybe the Sixers would consider against the Hawks team, seeing the success the Jazz just had against a team that, again, was not viewed as contenders. The Grizzlies, fun young team, but not really viewed as contenders. So maybe the Sixers do the same thing with the success the Jazz had. Also, the Jazz the Jazz, they should be the pick to get out of the West, right? I mean, they probably are because they're the 1 seed, but I feel like people are still not respecting the Jazz to the point where it's it is so much the odds that it's Nets Jazz is so likely to me right now. The Jazz with the Lakers out and not with them out, but with them looking the way they do, it'll probably be the Jazz, right?
They've got things are breaking their way right now. It's looking very nice if you're a Jazz fan. They've had some tough games with the Grizzlies, with Mitchell out. Obviously they lost, and then there's been some other close ones, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself because I think the Grizzlies are one of the worst teams in the playoffs right now. As much as I like them, that's just how it is. But yeah, they might not have to play the Clippers next round, which is the team you're trying to avoid. And Luka's really good, but I think you'd still rather play the Mavs over the Clippers. The Lakers might get out, which I know the Suns are also a threat, but they probably want to avoid the Lakers and LeBron and Anthony Davis too.
Yeah, because once Anthony Davis comes back, that's going to be a very difficult series.
And right now, the Nuggets are good, but it certainly doesn't look like they can really contend just because of Murray's injury. So other than that, the Suns
and then there's the Blazers,
and
and we got to talk about Dame, and then probably go into the NFL stuff. But it's going to be. Jesus. I think it's going to be the Jazz. And they're boring. They're boring, right? And no one wants it to be them because the star power isn't through the roof. But Suns and Jazz are really sitting pretty right now.
I don't know if being in a good position, that's part of making the playoffs is just getting put in a good spot, catching some breaks. And they're catching some breaks right now. At least it seems to be. But I don't know if I 100% buy into the Jazz. Gobert is still somebody who can be kind of game planned to be a lot less effective if the other team knows what they're doing. And if he's not playing well, if he's not getting it done, then the Jazz are going to have big problems. So we'll see.
Also, what a hot take by me. The Jazz and Suns, the 1 and 2 seed, are in a good position to make the finals.
That's a valid hot take. That's a valid hot take.
I know it is.
Those are not. I think most people had Clippers, Lakers in the conference finals.
Or Nuggets, or even Trailblazers, everyone was high on. But yeah, the 1 and 2 seeds actually are pretty good. Who would have guessed? And we got to talk before we get into the last thing. I mean, Damian Lillard and that Nuggets game.
Save Dame, please.
I think that people are maybe overestimating the odds that Dame actually ends up leaving Portland. I don't think he leaves.
Loyalty is like a big thing to him.
And I think that if Portland does choose to blow it up somewhat, that doesn't mean that Dame's leaving the team. It just means that everything around Dame is changing, which I wouldn't be against. They're just not good enough defensively. That's the problem with Portland. They're not good enough defensively. They don't have somebody outside of Nurkic that they can play at the 5 at all. Cantor is just too bad on defense. I saw they put like Melo in at center. That didn't work.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're not going to be able to get away with that against any team. Certainly not the team that has the MVP center.
Right.
So
yeah, not a good look.
I think we might finally see a CJ McCollum trade.
Yeah, and it should have happened last year. I think the writing was on the wall that you were never gonna win a finals with this Trailblazers team. I thought that was so obvious, and they just kind of wanted to keep it together, keep the gang together. Small market teams tend to do that a little bit, and it's like you're running a mom and pop shop against the gigantic corporations that are the Lakers, that are the Clippers, and you're running a small business. Like that is, you need to get aggressive and you need to make big moves and not just, loyalty is a big thing for Dame and for the Trailblazers, but sometimes you gotta make moves. And that Dame game where he dropped 55 and 10 for the first time in playoff history, I don't even know how to describe what I was watching in the last bit of the fourth quarter and overtime. I mean, it was ridiculous. He hit
2 game tying shots, didn't he?
Yeah, and the thing I can describe it as the most is like when I watch Rodgers Hail Marys. Those were the feelings, same feeling that got evoked as the Rodgers Hail Mary. And it was like seeing multiple in a single like overtime and a single end of the fourth quarter. Like it was, I've never seen a performance like that. I not that I can think of, maybe one of the LeBron finals ones, but in terms of like the sheer amount of clutch, deep threes, I think it's the best performance I've ever seen from a guy, and they still lost. And Jokic deserves some credit too. I mean, he was all kind of Dame after that game. But their backcourt, who are their guards? Like, and their backcourt is Austin Rivers and some other guy whose name is escaping me. And Dame is putting up the performance of the century, and Jokic is just cool and calm and collected and. With things kind of not being great around him and playing the game of his life, Jokic can still just pull out a win. And that it deserves, I know Dame had the better performance than Jokic, I think, but Jokic was still absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Jokic has been silently putting up 35 points a game in this series. I've never seen, it's like people know that Jokic is that good. I'm not saying it like, no, like guys, this guy who's going to win MVP is really good, but nobody, it feels like sometimes nobody acknowledges it.
Yes.
It's the same thing with LeBron.
No, it's not.
No,
everyone gives LeBron his flowers all the time.
Okay. In 2018, wasn't that the year that LeBron averaged a triple double in the finals? And like people it was just like,
LeBron got his LeBron always gets his flowers.
It's like, there's guys, some of like the more popular guys like LeBron or Curry, you'll always hear when they play well. And that's good. I'm not saying it's not. But then there's some guys like Jokic where you don't hear about it.
Right.
I guess that's fair. Well, of all the teams kind of in panic mode, I guess, which do you think pulls out the win, if any?
I got to say the Clippers. The Clippers are the most likely team to win 2 in a row, I would say, who are on the ropes right now. That was my take, and me and Matt's take in the last episode, is that they would win the next 2 just because that seemed to be the direction it was going, and then it wasn't. So that's obvious. That take is a bust, but I think the Clippers are more likely to win 2 in a row against the Mavericks, I think, than the Lakers are to win 2 in a row against the Suns right now. The Lakers just got the breaks beaten off of them. Davis and LeBron look hurt. I don't know. I feel like of all the teams that are on the ropes right now, the Clippers are the most likely to pull out a win.
Yeah, I think we kind of all agree on that.
Yeah, I'd probably agree, just from the sense of like, if for the Clippers to lose to the Mavs so far throughout this series, you basically needed Luka to go crazy. And that's definitely how I feel going into game 6. Luka needs to drop 30, 40 points. And that's a big ask of him, even though he's been doing it and he's been great. I'm not saying he won't, but for a team like the Suns to beat the Lakers one more time, it could be Paul or it could be Booker, or they could just defend well.
They just have to have a normal good game.
Yeah. Whereas the Mavs are expecting a little bit more of a superhuman effort from Luka. So I probably would agree that the Clippers are the most likely, but I'm kind of feeling okay about maybe Luka can pull out one more.
Yeah, no, I'm not totally. I think it's more likely the Mavericks win at this point. I mean, the guys who win the game, like who are up 3-2, right? I think they win 85% of the time, I thought was the stat I saw.
It was something like that, like mid 80s. I don't know, but
yeah, I don't think it's particularly likely any of the teams on the ropes win their series, but if I had to pick one, I'd go with the Clippers. So we're going into a mailbag of, I would assume these are mostly NFL questions. I could be wrong on that, but
if someone asks me an NBA question, I'll do my best.
But yeah, we had the listener mailbag a couple episodes ago. So I think these are some of the leftovers from there. We got way more calls than we could answer in one episode. So we've talked some NBA and we got some listener questions to answer for the back half of this podcast.
And just a reminder, you can get your questions in by voicemail at 614-349-8050, or you can shoot us an email at stayhotpodcast@gmail.com, or you could just leave us a comment on the YouTube and we can find it that way as well. So let's get into the first voicemail.
What's up? My name is Joseph Espipia, and I'm from San Antonio, Texas. And my question is, who do you think is going to have the better career? Zach Wilson or Mac Jones?
I think Mac Jones is going to have the better career out of Zach Wilson and Mac Jones.
That is a tough question.
I feel like Zach Wilson is probably more boom or bust, whereas I think Mac Jones, maybe we don't love him, but we think that he could be, in the league, and he could be like a solid starter as a quarterback. I don't know. We just don't value a guy who's like an average, solid starter, because quarterback's the most important position. You want to be really good there. So a guy like Mac Jones, who doesn't seem to have high upside, likely doesn't. It's harder for him to be one of those, top 10, top 5 guys, which is what we like.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that, there isn't a world where he is just really good at, reading the field and doing that type of stuff. And he's just accurate and on short to intermediate throws, and he can stay in the league and be a decent quarterback for a long time. So I'd probably say it's more likely that Jones is the better one.
Bladen, you're going to chime in here?
Okay. It looked like you were going to say something, Theo. No, I totally have to agree. And not even in the sense that like quarterback's the most important position. You want to be great at it. You want to be great at every position. You don't want to just settle for average. If you have to settle for average in certain places, sure you will. But like at the quarterback position, you want to be stellar.
Yeah, quarterback's just the position that I'm least willing.
Interrupt
you, but at least willing to be average at, because it's the most important spot.
I was going to interrupt you earlier and put that in, but I chose not to. But I don't think Mac Jones really, is going to be phenomenal. But if I had to pick someone to not be trash, just like horrible, I'm probably leaning Mac Jones. Zach Wilson doesn't have a great situation around him. I could very easily see him just like collapsing.
Did you use? Okay, so my thing
would say Zach Wilson has a higher bust chance than Mac Jones, but Zach Wilson also has a higher chance to be a lot better than Mac. Zach Wilson has more potential, but he has a higher ceiling, but he also has a lower floor.
You said Mac Jones was a day 3 pick, and so does that also apply for Zach Wilson for you? That he's also a day 3 talent?
Zach Wilson had more like talent, so I can understand taking him in the first round. He was my 4th highest quarterback prospect. I would have literally taken Felipe Franks over Mac Jones. So like, I draft more based on talent than I do based on like intangibles and intellect, because that's kind of hard to see on film. You know, you can try and make a guess of, oh, he read the field well, but you don't know the circumstance all that well. So
but you're taking Mac Jones.
Yeah, I'm leaning Mac Jones here. The Patriots are awesome. That organization, like Belichick's a great coach. They have an awesome situation there. I find it really hard to believe that, you know, Mac Jones just is atrocious. Like, I think he could be salvageable.
You know, the one thing about Jones' career path that you got to figure he's going to be sitting behind Cam Newton for, I don't know, the next 5 years, probably
5, 6, maybe even 7 years.
He's going to be on a second contract before he gets a chance to start.
You look very confused. I'm
confused because I don't know. I just expected you guys to give it. I'm saying here's why I say Mac Jones. I gave Mac Jones and Zach Wilson a very, very similar grade. I thought that they were both day 2, round 2 picks. I think it'll be Jones just because situation is better for Jones. And I really just don't know if Zach Wilson is going to be able to deal with NFL pockets. At BYU, he was throwing on air, in my opinion. I'm not throwing on air, but there was wide open spaces for him to throw from. They were not, he barely ever saw NFL pockets. And Dax Milne was catching all of his contested passes. I just think that he had a year in the COVID year, a Mickey Mouse year. I think that was Zach. I literally think that. I literally think that that's a buzzword that everyone, you know, says as a joke. I literally think that this year was kind of just extremely fluky for him, and that 2019 was kind of the real Zach Wilson. And you could say the same thing for Mac Jones, I guess. I think that I view them both similarly.
Mac Jones had very similar things, wide open receivers.
But I think that
probably more wide open receivers.
I think that Mac Jones coming from Bama will be better at dealing with like NFL things, NFL pockets, NFL wide, like throwing windows. When you play NFL coaching, when you play at Bama, I just think you're better suited to play in the NFL. And that's why, and he's in a better situation. That's why I lean Mac Jones. Yes. So that was kind of a long answer to that question. Yeah. So let's move on.
I would disagree with playing at Bama necessarily makes you a better suitor for the NFL. But,
it does.
You know, I'll digress on that. Let's hop into the second voicemail.
Wait. Can I talk about that? Being at a 5-star program, playing with the greatest in the world all the time, being in competition with like 5-star recruits every single day makes you better suited to the NFL. It just does.
Do you understand the problem of you're throwing to guys who are always wide open? Tua was throwing to 4 NFL wide receivers who were always wide open. Mac Jones was throwing to 3 NFL wide receivers who were always no one within like 5 yards.
I don't think it matters. Who cares? It just like is a good pass or like a pass that's on the money is on the money regardless of how open the receiver is.
Exactly. But
and that shows up on
you
film.
don't have to throw into tight windows.
Okay, and if you
then when you deal, because like even Jerry Jeudy and Jalen Waddle aren't going to be wide open in the NFL. So when you're dealing with guys who aren't going to be wide open all the time, you may not know what open looks like.
I get that, but at the same time, if you play at a lower level and you're Trey Lance and you are the best player on the field at all times, that's also just as bad when you are just so much more.
I don't think there's any inherent advantage to playing at a 5-star.
All right, we do. Okay, we have a lot more. We have a lot more questions. So that's just
that's why I didn't want to get into it because I know it's like a rough topic.
Yeah, but
yeah.
All right, what's the next voicemail?
Hi, big fan of the show. My name's Joe. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I just had a question for all 3 of you guys. And this is kind of a hypothetical, and I know we don't talk about baseball a lot. But which one do you think you guys could do first? Go into an MLB game and hit a ball and get on bat, or go into an NBA game, suit up, and get a bucket? Doesn't matter 2, 3 layup, but just get a bucket.
Get a bucket.
Fan of the show. Let me know what you guys
think. Definitely get a bucket.
I really appreciate when people ask like fun questions like this. I hate making predictions. It always I'm always stressed out that I'm going to later realize that I was wrong or think of something else. But when it's something like this, it's no big deal. Easily the bucket. There's no way that I'm hitting a baseball
and getting on base. You said on bat, but I assume he means base. Like you would have to hit it with some power, and I'm not hitting it with any power.
First of all, I wouldn't be able to track the ball. It's like 90 plus miles an hour. Like, hell no.
I'd be scared. I would be like,
how many at-bats do you need to get on base?
1,000.
A billion, thousand. I literally don't think I could do it. I literally don't think I could get on base.
Assuming you don't just get walked.
I don't think my body is built well enough to hit a ball. And I literally don't. I literally don't think that I have enough strength to get on base. I don't.
Can you pick up the bat?
I think I can
pick up the bat and swing it, but it's like against 100 miles an hour, the ball isn't going anywhere. Like I literally think I would need to have a pretty intense workout regimen, and I would have to like literally train for like a year to get my body to the point where I could actually hit a pitcher baseball any kind of distance. I really do. And with the bucket, I also am not getting a bucket is the other thing. You could put me in a full game season. I'm not getting. Maybe if I could, because I could heave. People always say this. It's like, I'll just heave from half court, which you're shooting 1%. But eventually I would.
Yeah, you'll make one.
But I'm not hitting a mid-range. I'm not driving. I'm not hitting a mid-ranger. I'm not hitting a 3 when they're playing any kind of defense.
That one's kind of a tougher one to analyze, I feel like. Just because, I mean, are my teammates helping me? Are they trying to get me a bucket, or am I just like a regular NBA player and they'll let me shoot if I'm open? Or do they know that it's me and they won't let me touch the ball? Because if they know that it's me and then it's some like random guy, I'm never scoring because they won't. I'd have to get a rebound. That would be my only hope. But I think you could. Given enough time. Maybe not in one game, but if you got to play a full season, 20 minutes a game, you would score.
Yeah, you would score. Guaranteed. You would score. I mean, Ben Simmons hit a 3, so I can.
All right. Well, let's hop into this third voicemail.
My name is Ryan K. I'm from Orange County, California. My question is, what should the Steelers do with all the cap that they have next year in offseason? They're projected with the most amount of cap space in the league. Should they go after a quarterback? Should they go after some pieces for the defense to make it like truly elite for a long time? Should they go after some more wide receivers? Thanks, guys. Appreciate the podcast.
I like this question a lot, because a lot of why the Steelers have a lot of cap space next year is because they're going to have like no one on their roster. So Matt, why are you laughing?
That's just a funny way to put it. I'm looking at
it's true. It's like their roster's not going to be very complete. Unless they, want to bring Ben back, which I doubt. I just don't see them having, that many pieces on their roster. So it's not about, what should they do? They have a lot they're going to have to do. I think best case scenario, they draft a quarterback. I don't know if you can go out and get one in free agency necessarily. And you could build some pieces on defense, but keeping a defense really good for a long time is probably the hardest thing to do in football, barring like getting an elite quarterback. But I would say it's the hardest thing to do.
Here's a list. I have a list of the guys who are going to be free agents for them next year. Roethlisberger, Joe Hayden, DeCastro, I think Smith-Schuster, he signed a 1-year deal, I guess, because he's on this list. Yeah. Eric Ebron, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Terrell Edmonds, TJ Watt, Cam Kennedy, and Cassius Marsh, Miles Killebrew, BJ Finney, James Washington, their punter Jordan Berry, and then some other guys that are not. I'm not going to list every single one.
Yeah.
So really their goal should just be to like hopefully keep their players.
Yes. Yeah, so what should they do with their cap space? They should sign TJ Watt probably.
Sign just Minkah throwing that out there. Probably.
They should probably sign Minkah Fitzpatrick. And I feel like Big Ben, don't re-sign him. Probably. Well, I guess you had the full season, but probably don't do that. And I would say that apparently, I have not done my scouting for 2022 yet, so I don't know. But apparently, the 2022 QB draft class is nothing super special. So
I've looked at a couple of the guys. They're not that good.
Okay. Well, okay. So knowing that, maybe you do get a bridge quarterback, whoever that may be. I don't know the 2022 quarterback free agents off the top of my head, but they have all this cap space. You got to re-sign. You got 2 huge contracts probably coming up in Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt. And then I would say maybe you do go with a bridge quarterback for a year, depending on where they finish. So I think that you just kind of build the roster around quarterback. So when you do eventually get that guy, it's a good situation for him.
So basically you're building like Washington.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I feel like that's not the fun answer. Re-sign your guys is not the fun thing to do.
It's not. No,
but that's what they got to do. Yeah, it's what they've got to do. And then honestly, the rest of the money will probably go to replacing the guys that they don't end up re-signing. Like maybe Juju leaves and they're going to have to sign somebody to fill his spot.
Well, I guess that kind of brings us into our first email question. We have a question from Connor. No matter how hard I try to make my brain work, I cannot imagine Matt singing. I legitimately can't. Is it possible we could get a snippet of Matt singing something? I need this in my life. End quote. Matt,
I have a couple of stories about this. First off, I was in choir in the 8th grade, and I was not too bad, I like to think. But, I was 13, so I probably wasn't awesome. Also, I have a friend exactly like this, who I'm like, I've never heard you sing ever. And that it's one thing because like, maybe I'm just like, some guy on TikTok. Okay, you've never heard me sing. That makes sense. But I lived with this dude for months and never heard him sing.
Not even like in the shower?
Yeah, like I've never heard him sing. And now he refuses to just for like the sake of not letting me hear him sing. But I don't know if the singing clips are going to be coming soon. I don't think that would...
Wait, Matt. I was also in choir for a long time. And I think you got
better pipes than me.
I think so because I had some solos. I was the lead I was the lead singer. Our high school does this thing where we put on like a big concert, and I had one of the lead songs there. So I don't know if we'll get a singing thing right here, right now, but on the podcast account, could we sing a 2-part harmony and then put it together and then
hold on.
Or a 3-part blading. Do you have some pipes? We get
so I've been told, but I haven't yeah.
If I could find a piece of sheet music with
I can't read.
I'm not saying we have to do this, but I would be down.
I can't read sheet music, bro.
Okay, that's fair. I can
as long as it's not as long as I get multiple takes at it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Maybe
for sure. Okay, maybe we can get a little
some harmonizing.
So singing content coming soon. It seems like
maybe, but we can talk about that.
So follow the Stay Hot Podcast account on TikTok. It's at Stay Hot Pod. We might bring that to you guys soon.
We'll see. All right, but yeah, I don't know. Are you a bass or a tenor? Or
I have a very weird middle ground.
So
I'm a tenor.
Okay. I'm a bass. One of the proudest moments of my career was during that concert thing I was talking about. Someone asked me if I was a baritone or a tenor, and I got to say I'm actually a bass too. I'm just singing high, and they're like impressed.
Nice.
So that's some choir content. I can't believe I guess that was a question for Matt that I'm kind of hijacking, but
it was a question for Matt, and Theo just went full choir nerd on us.
Hey, I was involved.
I respect it. Let's go ahead and cue that 4th voicemail.
Hi, my name is Jack, and I was wondering, would you rather only be able to watch the rival sports team of any sport, or watch the sport you're least interested out of the 4 major ones like hockey, basketball, football, and baseball?
That's a tough one.
The question is, would you rather only watch, like for me, I think it would be the Vikings. I try to stay as unbiased as possible, but as a Packer fan living in Minnesota, that would be my least favorite football team. I'd much rather watch the Vikings all the time than watch baseball. That's probably my least favorite. And no disrespect to baseball. I'm not a baseball player.
Do you have to like go to Vikings games, like dress up as a Vikings fan? Like
I'd have no problem with it. I have freed myself as much as I think I can from the biasness. I have no problems with watching the Vikings. I think that would be a fun team to watch. They're pretty good. So I'd much rather do that.
I don't think I'd want to watch the Steelers right now. But at the same time, I think I'd like to watch football more so than baseball. So think I'd still rather watch the Steelers.
When I think of rival team, I guess NFL would be the Saints. Yeah, I'd be willing to watch them over, I guess baseball would be the
Matt,
sport.
you were definitely thinking Michigan more
I was for college football, I was thinking Clemson.
Oh yeah, because you're like South Carolina more so.
Oh, right.
Yeah. If it was Clemson, I probably would rather watch baseball. Being completely honest.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't mean to hate on baseball.
Dude just like hates Clemson so much.
No, it's because all of their games are just them playing like Boston College. I'm good.
Right. A bunch of 70-0
like, I don't want to watch
against
Clemson play
with
the
a
rest
team
of
you
the
hate.
ACC.
That's tough. College football, the blowouts would make it tough to just watch a college. I don't really hate any college football team though. So I guess Arizona, but watching Arizona would be tough just because they suck so much. So I don't know, but I'd rather watch any NFL football team than, that's my favorite sport by far. So
yeah. Well, we have one more email question, then 2 more voicemails. So the email is from Nathan. He has a question that says, I have a scenario for you. Imagine the NFL restarts and a draft of all current non-quarterback players is held. Who do you draft number 1 overall? I like that he said non-quarterback. I think that makes it more interesting. I added the non-quarterback criteria because without it, the only logical answer is, of course, Mahomes. Would love to hear your thought on this. Again, I love that he said non-quarterback. I thought that was a really nice touch because we've talked about this, I feel like before. I don't know if we've talked about this, but I feel like as a football community gets brought up a lot. And it's like always just, you just take Mahomes first overall. But who would you guys take?
Donald. I'd take Aaron Donald.
Are we thinking longevity?
Even if we were thinking longevity, I think that guy's in such crazy shape that he's going to be good for the next 5-6 years.
Donald's a really good choice.
He's probably 29. I think he's 29.
Donald's young enough that I would consider taking him.
Yeah, and I think having a really good defensive tackle is one of the more important positions. I do like pressure up the middle is just so disruptive.
It's hard to deal with. It really is.
And in run fits, having a guy who can, just blow up A gaps makes the life so much easier for the run, like everything. So Donald, I think, is the best football player in the league. I do. I think he's a better defensive tackle even than Mahomes as a quarterback. I would say that. So I would take Donald. But that's kind of a boring answer, so maybe I can think of someone more interesting.
Well, I think the only position that is harder or as hard, if not harder than quarterback is cornerback. I'm going to take the best player at that. I'm going to take Jalen Ramsey.
So, yeah, I think that's also valid.
It's funny. The Rams have both those guys. But, is there really anyone that can play the cornerback position more consistently than Ramsey? I know there's players in spurts that have better seasons. Jair's really good. And there's obviously Gilmore, who had that Defensive Player of the Year season a couple years ago. But Ramsey consistently has been one of, if not the best corners in football. Doing that is unbelievably difficult. So I'm going to take him. And he's young. He's not getting any worse.
Yeah,
I'd go with Donald over Ramsey, personally.
I would too, just because I feel like defensive tackle is more impactful for a single position, and I think Donald is a better player than Ramsey is, and that's no disrespect to Ramsey. That's just Donald.
I just think finding obviously you're not going to be able to find another Aaron Donald, but finding another Jalen Ramsey, I feel like would be harder.
Yeah, I would consider AJ Brown. I would also consider AJ Brown strong. Yeah, I would. I think that AJ Brown is totally fantastic. And I think next year he's going to be all pro. And I think that he's young and you would be dealing with, although maybe I wouldn't because I would like to see him, as this year probably taking stepping up.
Receivers being super valuable, but first overall, I don't know.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't take him over Donald, but I think that I think that wide receiver is a very important position, especially a guy like AJ Brown, who's so good after the catch. It's easy to get him involved and have him break off big plays. I would consider him. He's super young.
I think with Ramsey, the problem I'd have with him is that you could take him, and then if the rest of the players on your secondary aren't also good, your secondary could overall not be that good. With Donald, I feel like it's a lot harder to not have a good pass rush if Aaron Donald's on your team than it is to not have a good secondary if Ramsey's on your team. And that's not Ramsey's fault or anything. I think that's just the way the secondaries work.
It's just there's 4 other players. They're spread out across the field. It's hard to cover that kind of ground. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Sweet. All right.
So
yeah.
5th voicemail. We have 2 more.
Hi, I'm Charlie. I'm from Tennessee. I have a question on free agency. Which NFL free agent that's still available do you feel like will make a biggest impact on a team? And which NFL free agency signing do you feel like will have the least major free agency signing will have the least impact on a team? Thank you. Bye.
I'm a little bit confused by that first. Is he asking
who is in the free agency right now? Like has not been signed yet.
Okay.
I'm going to say a Steelers guy, Steven Nelson. I don't think that he's been signed yet. I'm going to Google that real quick. He is a free agent. Steven Nelson is a slot corner, and he's really solid. When I was making my top 10 cornerbacks list, I had to put him on my big list of guys I would consider. And then I didn't put him on my top 10 list, but he was someone I considered there. And I don't know why he's still available. Maybe it's a Clowney situation. Maybe it's
corners, man. People do not value them at all. It seems this happens like almost every year. There's a guy who sits on the market like this, who's a great player, but just can't find a contract.
Yeah, and I'm surprised the Steelers cut him at all, and I think that's going to be kind of a big loss for them. But he's my pick. Steven Nelson is the best. Is a guy who I think some defense who is, some defense with a decent secondary. I think you can put them over the top and maybe like shore up that slot corner position, that nickel corner position. I think that's a high impact guy that's still sitting out there. So that would be my pick.
It's totally fair. I want to say Richard Sherman's still available, isn't he?
He's also still available.
I want to say that Sherman adds a lot of value, as a corner, because he's just a good player. And I know, obviously he's getting older, so he's not as good. But also just with his mind, and you can bring him in and train younger guys. Sherman's like underrated as far as like how smart he is. Like his football IQ is through the roof. Adding a player like that to your team is, I think, I don't think you can quantify how valuable that is.
Yeah, and especially if he gets in the right system. I wouldn't want him playing a lot of man coverage at this point in his career, but I think you can add him to a team that plays a lot of cover 3 like he did in Seattle, and have that be pretty good. Outside of that, there's some good players.
Yeah, there's some good names. I wanted to bring up Melvin.
Yeah,
I wanted to bring up Melvin Ingram. He's been really good for the Chargers. I'm kind of surprised that he's not with a team, but I don't know if I have a super strong opinion on this question just because I haven't really looked into the free agency class that's left super deeply.
Yeah,
I haven't looked at NFL free agency in a while. I just knew that Sherman was still available. I was like, that guy, I remember he's still, solid. I'd like to have him on my team if I had a young developing secondary.
Yeah. So, and there was a second half to that question. What was a free agent signing that you don't think will have a huge impact? And I would go there. I would maybe say Yannick Ngakoue for the Raiders. I feel like Yannick Ngakoue is kind of an overrated pass rusher. I think he's not super great against the run. I think that he's a speed rusher, not so much powerful. I think there's a reason why the Vikings, traded for him and then just totally punted on him, traded him away for less than they got him for 5 weeks later. And then the Raiders, who kind of desperately needed edge help, let him walk. I think Yannick Ngakoue, the fans all view him as one guy because he does put up nice sack numbers. But as far as his impact on the field goes, and I think NFL teams know this, or at least some do, I guess, not the Raiders. I just don't think that he's some high impact player that's going to really turn around the Raiders pass rush. Like some guys will be like, oh, the Raiders added Yannick, so they're going to have a better defensive line. I don't really think that he's going to be a huge game changer there. So that's my answer.
I'm going to go another edge player, Bud Dupree. I think the Titans.
He's a Titans fan. No, or maybe he's not. He's from Tennessee. I'm sorry, guy.
Yeah, but Tennessee might be a Titans fan, but like the Titans spent $85 million on Bud Dupree, and he's like, meh, because he got hurt. And the Steelers backup, I don't even know his name, went in and put up like very similar production.
Highsmith.
Yeah.
There's a couple bad edge Leonard Floyd got paid bank from the Rams this year. Leonard Floyd got paid, and he should send about half of that to Aaron Donald, who we were talking about earlier. And then the Panthers signed the guy from the Cardinals whose name is Hassan Reddick, right? And he, I think, is a little bit more of a rotational guy, but they didn't give him that much money, so I thought that was a pretty good a decent deal. So
can't sit here and start hating on my team.
No, I
think Reddick was the best of all those kind of edge guys that we just went through. But
this guy knows football.
Just trying to please you, Matt.
What? Anyway.
Hey guys, big fan of everyone. You know, first followed Spawn Hour, but then, you know, got around to following you other guys.
Thanks.
Kind of rambling. I'm George from North Carolina, and I don't have a sports question, but I was scrolling through my following TikTok tab, and Spawn Hour video came up, then a Blade, and then a Theo right after each other. And I realized all three of you guys have really nice skin. Not to be weird, but, you know, skincare routine, question mark. If you can, you know, that'd be something interesting. I don't know. Love the content, guys. Keep it up. Yeah.
Well, I don't have really good skin. I have kind of bad skin, actually, but my camera is kind of... I think TikTok adds a filter to you, even when you don't have any. That makes you look hotter than you are. I do. I think I look better in my TikTok videos than I do on here or in real life. So I think that's why. That's my skincare routine, is whatever hidden filter that TikTok puts on your skin and teeth.
First of all, I'm glad that he actually knew our names, Theo, because he just called us
I was a little bit concerned after that first
time. But
you
no,
other
but
guys.
I do actually have a skincare routine a little bit. I don't know the exact products by name right now, but like I have like
that's okay, awesome. Classic
I know,
guy skincare
I
routine.
could
I don't know what they are.
Get it, but like why? I know the brand is like Everyman Jack. That's like what I use for my face most of the time. It's like a face wash. I think it's like a charcoal wash. I let that like sit on my face for a couple minutes, then I rinse it off. And I make sure to rinse off with like more pressured water, as opposed to like what I wash my body with. And then after that, like if I shave, I have another kind of exfoliating face wash that I put on, and then I put on shaving cream, and then I shave, and then after that I actually use Vaseline in cold water to kind of make, because you know, like prevent razor burn, stuff like that. And then I have a same Everyman Jack, I have what is it, like a face lotion. And
but you don't know what these are called. They're just
I don't know the exact names, but I know that they're all by Everyman Jack, every single one of them.
Okay.
I don't know, man. Sometimes I use this acne scrub when my acne gets bad. Other than that, it's probably just the TikTok filter. I gotta agree with Theo.
Yeah, no, they definitely do something, and I think Snapchat does too. Because if you open TikTok and you film your face, and then you open up the actual camera app and film your face,
it looks different.
I guarantee you look better on TikTok. It's ridiculous, actually.
Yeah, if you open your camera app and look at your face, it's scary. Like it's
also, I think they flip your face on one of them and you don't on the other, because I have a very
I
have a very asymmetrical face.
App.
Me too.
And
the camera app flips your face.
Yes.
The TikTok does not.
Okay, that might be also what does it. But like, I'll open TikTok and be like, okay, I look pretty good. And then if you open the camera app, my face looks totally lopsided and my skin doesn't look as good. Which, you know, so it goes. But it's just the way it is. So my skin care routine is just whatever TikTok does. But Bladen, I guess that was a pretty good answer.
I tried my best, you know, but my skin did used to be really bad, but like. Had to get better, you know?
I might have to get on that. I might have to.
Well, I think that kind of wraps things up on our end. Little bit of a wacky ending, but thank you all so much for listening to this point. If you did make it this far, I hope you did. Hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. If you haven't, please do subscribe to the YouTube, and you know, whatever platform you're listening on, follow, subscribe, like, review, whatever. We're going to be putting out some really fun content going forward. And again, thanks for tuning in. And we'll catch you on the flippity flop.